Hello, my name is Erin Vashon, and I am hybrid editor at Longleaf Review. Welcome to a special feature for our summer 2022 issue in the hybrid genre, where we spend time in conversation with our hybrid authors and explore their creative process. So today I am so happy to share space with Raina K. Puels to talk about their hybrid Set in Concrete. Hello, Raina.
Hi there, how's it going?
I'm good. So first, when you first submitted Set in Concrete, you wrote that collage felt inherently queer to you. And I was so taken by that. I'm wondering if you could expand on that notion and how that idea informed Set in Concrete as a creator.
I feel like a lot of my personal queerness is trying to figure out which disparate pieces fit together to kind of figure out my identity and what I'm looking for. And I often feel like it's constantly changing. So I kind of feel like I am a walking collage as a human, both emotionally and physically. So what I love about collage is that you have all of these different options in front of you and you have to pick each one and you're like, okay, this goes here. And then, 5 minutes later, you could be like, oh no, actually it goes over here. And I feel like that's very adjacent to my queer experience.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I think I might be a walking collage too, but I've never thought of it like that. And now actually that might help inform my own queerness too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Raina. Um, what media did you use to construct Set in Concrete, and what did the process look like for you overall?
I work at MIT and there is an art gallery on the MIT campus. And I was in there trying to pick out some art for my office. And I saw that they had this huge pile of art books that had a little sticky on it that said trash. And I was like, you're throwing out all these art books. So I went to the front desk and I was like, can I have some of these? And they were like, yeah, come back tomorrow. We'll pack some boxes for you. So I went back tomorrow and they had packed 2 huge boxes for me. So I actually had to Uber home with these art books. And I got home and I started going through them and they were incredible. So a lot of my collage materials I just happened to pick up at work. And so the background of like the mask people kissing just came from some random art book that I, got at work. The text came from this book called Mirror Mirror by A.J. Bronson.
Mhm.
And there were actually 2 copies of it in the box they gave me, which I feel like was so fortunate because one I got to read and one then I got to cut up. But A.A. Bronson is a queer man and he made all of this like really incredible art that was displayed at MIT. And a lot of it had to do with his queer identity and his Jewish identity. And I'm also Jewish. Um, and he actually was in a triad with 2 other men and they both died of AIDS and he was their primary caregiver. And so he has incredible writings about what it's like to love and to lose and to work with other artists about themes of love and loss. So I used this super queer text to make a queer collage, and that felt really poignant and meaningful to me, to re-queer something that was already queered.
Oof, oof. I love that. Requeering something that's already queer. Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, so I find Set in Concrete so compelling because of the complex themes of desire that are pressed up against architecture and destruction. Like there's lines of desire that pulse between bodies, but there are bridges that connect across bodies of water at the same time that there are buildings that shelter bodies while there are other buildings that are collapsing on top of them. So how did these themes relate to your process of constructing a hybrid collage in architectural ways with different media? Like, was that theme an intentional process for you, or a theme that kind of arose while working through collage?
Um, what we talk so something we often talked about in grad school, I did the MFA thing, is every poem you write tells more than you intend and tells less than you intend.
Yeah.
And in this piece, I was not focused on themes of architecture and desire. Instead, I just kind of took the parts of the book from a specific portion that I found were really compelling. And I was like, okay, how do I put these together? And I guess, with the architecture theme, how do I scaffold these ideas together?
Mhm.
And so what I often do is I just like cut out phrases and ideas from whatever collage text I'm working with. And then I often retype it into a Google Doc. So then I can really massage all of the language and make sure that it fits together. I'm very much a perfectionist when it comes to my poems and my collages. I am the person who obsessively reads everything I write out loud 50 times until it's like sonically perfect. So I do that even with my collage work. And so I cut out the things that were interesting. I retyped it into a Google Doc, figured it out, and then I moved it back into the collage form. So in a way, it's like I am creating a bridge between the original text and then where it ends up. There's like a whole scaffolded process, but the themes, not intentional. It was just really what called out to me from the text I was working with.
That's beautiful. It's interesting because there's so much construction even in the actual process itself. So like the theme is inherently there even while you're building, and even there it's building is in there. So the end of your piece posits this really incredibly interesting question. And it's an either or question, which really jumps out at me in a hybrid, because I think of hybrid as kind of sitting in this really liminal space. And I'm going to quote it. I flashed back to our earlier encounters. You gave me advice on an altar I built in the middle of a museum for some specific healing purpose. I remember asking you if it was better to stay in the building for protection or to leave in case it collapsed in an explosion of soot and concrete. So beautiful. Oh God, it's so beautiful. I'm wondering if you could speak to this tension between protection and collapse, which it's so relevant to our current moment, especially sitting inside a hybrid genre too. And I noticed there is not an answer to that final question. So was that lack of resolution intentional for you?
Something that I teach a lot of my students, I teach college writing, so I'm going to slip into college writing teacher mode, is that a lot of the best pieces of writing continue off the page. And I like to think about that a lot in my own work as well. And so as much as I do love a tidy ending, I love something with no resolution. And I try to do that in my own work as much as possible, because everything is super messy, especially right now. Everything is up in the air. It could explode at any moment. And I do like how that is exhibited in the poem as well. And also another thing is that the first line of the poem is about soot and concrete. And so it has this kind of full circle moment where you return to that image at the end, which I guess if we're still talking about architecture, it very much like has a full life cycle and a full, not a building, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it's a whole.
Yeah. And it's interesting because in a cycle, in some ways there's a beginning and an ending, but in some ways a circle doesn't really have an end to it. It just loops back on itself. And so in some ways your piece just kind of rotates and rotates, which is really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And something I feel like is very queer too. It's this, like we talked about, this constant reinvention. It's like you can't settle on one thing because you're always evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, closing fun question. What's something in any medium, because we're talking about hybrid, that's really inspiring you as an artist right now?
I have been on a kick of listening to a lot of murder mystery detective novels. I've been really into this guy named Charlie Dunley, who, the books aren't perfect, but they're really engaging. And it's so nice to listen. I'm a big audiobook person, to listen to something while I'm working. And so to have a really good narrative driving me means that I can just kind of sit and collage for hours. So I don't know, I wouldn't say the text is inspiring me, but the focus that I get from being like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? It feels really good to also have that happening while I'm working.
Yeah, I love a good murder mystery, and I love a good audiobook too. And actually that makes me really want to jump back in. So thank you for reminding me. Um,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Raina. You can view Raina's hybrid at the Longleaf Review website, along with the rest of our current issue. Again, thank you, Raina. Okay, we're gonna stop here. Bye.